Especially, of course, I realized Fides et Ratio is not a very easy reading. No, in fact, when it first came out and I began reading it, na-realize ko I had to read it several times over. No, I think I had to read it thrice, 4 times, etc. Kasi hindi madaling pag-usapan, basahin at intindihin. Pero I think it starts by saying that faith and reason are these two wings that will really bring us to the loftier side of life, especially where we can really put together very solidly both the life on earth and also the eternal life. So I think that's how I can explain the importance of St. Thomas Aquinas and also pagpapahalagang binigay ni Blessed John Paul II to the reading of St. Thomas Aquinas. So thank you very much for that question po.
Talagang maganda explanation ni Dr. Racelis, mga
but thanks to you.
Sa mga nakikinig lang, bago nakikinig ngayon, we have our guest here, Dr. Aliza Racelis of UP Diliman, who is talking about virtue ethics today. Before I go to ask you a question concerning ethics and accounting at saka management, Thomas Aquinas said that justice is giving what is due. No?
That's correct.
Kasi yung justice ngayon, parang human justice lang, ano?
Yes.
They're not giving to God that is due to God.
That's
no?
correct.
How do you reconcile it, Dr. Racelis, with the people in UP, students in UP, when in fact that is very secular school, and I have heard that there are also atheistic societies there.
That's correct. That's correct. No? Napakaganda po ng katanungan nyo. Actually, it's a continuing challenge for me. No? For your information, it continues to be a challenge for me, especially as I teach business ethics in UP. Now, on the other hand, in class, when you give that simple definition, no, to give to another that which is due to him or her, actually it's a very secular explanation. So, and it's easy to understand, and I think the benefit of my saying that in class is at least they're reminded. So, napapaalalahanan ng ang aking mga mag-aaral sa etika kung ano yung mga importanteng prinsipyo. So, pag pinagninilayan po natin ang katarungan sa class at binanggit ko po yung kahulugan na yan, at least napapaalalahanan sila. So I think just to stick to that definition already gives them a lot to think about. So I think that's how I deal with it. To tell you frankly, sa business ethics ko po, now you're giving me ideas. Perhaps the next time I teach it, siguro I could also incorporate a case study that will be dealing with justice. But so far, since it's a business ethics class, usually ang choices ko po ng cases would be environmental ethics, electronic privacy at work, and then of course CSR or corporate social responsibility. But you're right, justice is also a very important issue. But I usually limit myself to reminding them of that particular definition. And when you give them that definition, I think that's understandable enough. And it's patas-patas, ibig sabihin, habang tao ang mga kausap mo, ay din naiintindihan. So, I think that's the importance of reminding them of that particular definition. So, that's how I would answer your question po.
Thank you, Dr. Racelis.
Thank you din po. Thank you.
Ang ikaapat ko na tanong ay ganito, maaari ba po kayong magbigay ng aplikasyon ng virtue ethics sa accounting at sa management?
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Ray. No? Sa isang aklat ukol sa accounting ethics, binanggit na may matinding pangangailangan ng mga accountants at pati na rin ang sino mang empleyado, no? Sino mang professional sa virtue of courage. So this is one particular application of virtue ethics, and in fact, as I was reading it, there's a particular chapter 4 deals with virtue ethics in particular. Nakasaad po doon na napakalaking pangangailangan nating lahat ng mga professional dito sa kabutihang asal na katatagan ng loob, or you can also say katapangan, which is courage, no? Ang epekto po ng courage or katatagan ng loob ay magtatrabaho ng mahusay ang bawat isa, pananagutan ang lahat ng tungkulin, kasi fulfillment of duty sometimes can be very difficult. I mean, let's face it, pag sinabi natin pananagutan ang tungkulin, it's simple for you and me, especially after working for so long. Alam natin na fulfillment of duty is important, pero somehow we have to remind people of the need for them to actually fulfill their duty. Kasi kung minsan, pagpasok natin sa opisina, kung minsan naghahanap lang tayo ng benepisyo, etc., na nakakaligtaan natin na may karapatan ang employer natin na to ask from us good work. So that's why the virtue of courage is very important. So pananagutan ang lahat ng tungkulin, hindi mang-aabuso. So hindi, not falling into greed, what we call greed, no? So hindi mang-aabuso, magtitiyaga, perseverance, no? At magpapasyensya. Patience is very important also in the workplace. Iiwasan ang korupsyon at ang katiwalian. Hindi bibigay sa tukso ng salapi at, for example, ng mga bribery at iba pa. Bukod dito, sa pananaliksik ko tungkol sa virtue ethics na aking ibinabahagi sa aking mga estudyante, napag-alaman na pag virtuous or may mga kabutihang asal ang mga managers at lahat ng organizational members, tulad halimbawa ng kasipagan, industriousness, no? Honesty, pagpapakumbaba, humility, at even in the workplace, hindi magnanakaw at responsable sa assets at property ng kumpanya, maawain or compassion, matulungin or helpfulness, galante at hindi matakaw o mapang-abuso o mapang-agaw, ay makamemenos ang korporasyon sa mga tinatawag na corporate governance mechanisms, which is, by the way, the second half of my ethics class, no? Or mga mekanismo para matiyak na namamalakad na mabuti at mahusay ang mga managers ng kumpanya. So that's how I would answer po your question. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Dr. Racelis. Batid ko po ay napakiusapan po kayong maging bahagi ng Integrity Initiative na pinamumunuan ng Makati Business Club. Ano ba po ang mga layunin ng Integrity Initiative at sino-sino ba po ang mga kasama rito?
Okay, maraming salamat po, Prof. Entila. Nakalimutan ko pong batiin kanina si Ma'am Climaco and also si Sir Paulo Monteiro, kasi po tinawagan, nag-text po nga pala ako sa kanila kamakailan lang, siguro mga 3 days ago or 4 days ago, to tell them that I'll be mentioning the Integrity Initiative. Bumabati po ako sa kanila. Bago ko po makaligtaan, gusto ko po sanang banggitin, thank you very much for asking me that question, gusto ko pong banggitin yung URL, yung website ng Integrity Initiative. Sa mga lahat ng ating mga tagapakinig na may internet connection po or access, you can just log on to or access www.integrityinitiative.com. Okay, so para sa kaalaman po ng ating tagapakinig, may naumpisahan pong inisyatiba sa Maynila na hihikayatin ang mga kumpanya, maliit man o malaki, na sumama sa kanilang paanyayang mangako, kaya ang tinawag integrity pledge po, paanyaya nilang mangako o manumpa, in fact it's a pledge ng integrity. Tinawag po nilang integrity pledge. Nakatuon po ito sa pag-iwas or pag-eliminate ng korupsyon at ng katiwalian, ang mga tukso ng salapi at mga bribery, etc. So, ito po ang focus ng Integrity Initiative, which is a very interesting initiative po, Bago ko po, as I said, for example, nakapaloob po, when you go to their website, nandun po nakashare yung Integrity Pledge. So, pinangunahan po ito ng Makati Business Club, as I mentioned, pero nung isang pulong na dinaluhan ko po nung last week po, natuwa po ako na nakakita po ako ng napaka-importanting executives, especially ethics officers po ng iba't ibang auditing firms or accounting firms. So, natuwa po ako na may iba't ibang individual, especially ng mga namumuno ng mga auditing firms and also some other important corporations. That's why kanina po si Ma'am Klima ko na binati ko po, she's with the European Chamber of Commerce, and nais ko po talagang banggitin na napaka-importante pong inisyatiba to para mabawasan ang korupsyon or ang katiwalian kahit sa pribadong sektor, sapagkat malaki po ang paniniwala nito Integrity Initiative people na katulad nga po na sabi dito, we believe that corruption has been one of the biggest impediments to economic growth and prosperity in the Philippines and has been eroding the moral fiber of the society. I'm reading from part of the Integrity Pledge. So, in other words, as ang nakasulat sa pledge, as chief executives of established companies in the Philippines, we acknowledge our company's responsibility to lead by example in the fight against corruption and to operate our business ethically and with integrity. So, in other words, what they are primarily setting out to do is to invite as many companies and company executives as possible to sign the Integrity Pledge. I think their aim is by this December to have at least 1,000 corporations or corporate executives to sign the Integrity Pledge. So, that's what I can say for now about the Integrity Pledge, and thank you very much for asking me that question.
So, ang galing niyan, More than 1,000.
Yes. I would really encourage all our listeners to at least take a look at the Integrity Initiative. At kung nakikiisa po sila dito sa panunumpang ito, at least to reach the people behind the Integrity Initiative, nandun po sa website nila yung kanilang email address po.
Ano